TRW, Little Round Top, Avalon Hill, early 1980s. Especially, especially in light of my earlier videos here, I definitely want to comment here. It's essentially good. Okay, so I guess three things. The rule book still has some soft spots to my way of thinking. Two, the game design comes together for me. And three, it's working for me. Okay, so I was rereading the rules again, and it's pretty clear to me that there are soft spots. So, and especially when I say soft spots, I just don't feel comfortable that I am getting the designer's intent directly from, rules as written. Yeah, rules as written. Now I'm hoping when I graduate to Devil's Den that that getting to know Devil's Den will help clarify some things for me for Little Round Top here. I think it'll be in an indirect way, because Devil's Den is definitely not the same game. Same designers, same design ideas. I think that's about as far as I'll go. Devil's Den just looks incredible. Devil's Den looks incredible. I hope that it lives up to. Hope it lives up to my expectations there. Some games do. Assault did. The Assault series lived up to my expectations. La Bataille lived up to my expectations. So, yeah. So, the second thing is, things are finally hanging together. They're coming together. Even though I started to have some questions and reservations about certain parts of the rules and design, I find it actually really coming together. And again, I hope I have the designer's intent right here. But for example, let me just talk about what I found frustrating, and then had to. Well, I find myself adjusting my thinking here. So they're only, what is it? I believe it's 6 minute turns. That's pretty significant. It's pretty significant that they are only 6 minute turns. So I think that's what I mean about it's actually starting to hang together when I consider the scale, and well, I guess it's primarily the scale. So I'm thinking that, Lieutenant Colonel Bulger of the 47th Alabama, I'm thinking that somewhere the rules should allow me to, for example, move, just to choose one of the basic actions or orders, the entire formation, kind of a decent amount, right? So if units in line, let's do column, because the formation is now in column. Units in column can move up to 5 hexes. So I'm thinking, okay, so Bulger orders the entire formation to move 4 hexes, let alone 5. And if they don't go over any crazy amount of terrain or crazy type of terrain, if they don't run into enemy contact, it just early on I thought that should have been possible. But now I see that it isn't necessarily that a commander can complete some large chunk of activity for the entire formation in one turn. I think a lot of these activities for the whole formation spread out over multiple turns. That's what I think my mind I wasn't getting early on. I think that's what's happening here. So the flip side is you do a lot of activity with a portion of the formation and the rest of the formation does nothing, or you do really a very modest amount of activity for the whole formation. And then I guess it is, now I'm starting to see it is all that decision making that's actually pretty darn enjoyable and interesting. Now, again, it was the idea of individual leaders named, in fact, with a set and explicit command point total. Again, you want to think of it as an allowance or not. I'm not sure what's intended there, but they call it command point total. It's very specific. It's 15, it's 20, it's 25, it's 30. And then very explicit and specific costs per unit for different activities. That whole model, I think, led me to believe that the command part was a little different than what I now believe is going on. Basically, and I don't want to get into too much detail here, but it finally started to click when I realized, wait a minute, there's a lot more, and I'm so not a fan of this, but there's a lot more design for effect going on here than I originally expected. Again, just because of what I saw early on, I thought it was going to be a lot more explicit or designed for cause. Instead, oh no, there's quite a bit of design for effect here. And that's what I'm saying. Once I started to realize that, okay, I see how it hangs together. I see how it does model group or formation behavior okay. And it does that through a heavy dose of design for effect. Yeah. Okay, so it's good though. It's good. I'm really, I guess one way to put it, I'm really coming around to this. I really am. It does have a lot. And it's really interesting to think about comparing and contrasting this with Rebel Yell. I wonder. I don't know that would be, I guess, worthwhile or not, but it could be done though. And I really want to see what specifically the battle for Little Round Top looks like. And I should say that the 20th Maine's defense of Little Round Top. See what that looks like in Devil's Den, because it's not going to be this. I don't think it's going to be the same. I think it's going to be a different feel there going on there. So because of my earlier videos, I definitely wanted to say, yeah, breakthrough here. Great little compact design. Actually does have a fair amount going on. And when you're considering that this is, let me do a quick eyeball. Yeah, we're talking roughly 15 by 15 hexes. That's all. 15 by 15 hexes play area here. There's actually a lot going on. in that small area. And it's interesting. It is interesting, and that's amazing considering there's not even artillery. Yeah. Definitely all came together. I'm going to go ahead and say it because I was thinking this game was really highlighting this, and I'm going to say it. I'm really, well, let me say two things. One, if you're going to have named individual leaders, model them specifically as that individual named leaders. Which actually, I guess I should come back to that point. Or don't have them at all. Just don't have them. Which doesn't mean they're not there. Just factor them into other mechanics and take them out. Now, if you're going to have individual named leaders, I think you're going to need to make some adjustments for that, because this is kind of the point I'm trying to get at. I think that so far in the history of tabletop hex and counter paper war games, I think that our basic mechanics are just too rough, they're just too coarse. They're not fine enough to handle what I would consider to be more, well, certainly realistic, but certainly more faithful to reality, modeling one individual, Lieutenant Colonel Bolger or Colonel Oates or Captain Hill, on a paper field, a hex field, with units and formations, whether they're companies or what have you. The companies here, mechanics are just too blunt. They're not fine enough. And so I think what designers have done, whether I don't know if it's been conscious or not, or explicit or not, or recognized or not, but designers have, because the modeling tools that we've been, for the most part, working with so far are so coarse and blunt. Your individual named leaders, which have become only more and more popular, the individual named leaders are really stand-ins for more than just that individual named leader. And I don't mean just, and I don't mean just representing maybe Lieutenant Colonel Bolger and his staff or whatever. All right.